distinguished gentleman from Hawaii, Mr. Case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, I wanted to follow up on the Chair's questions along the lines of recruitment and retention, because I think the basic question is whether you are getting to where you need to be on your staffing, and whether you have the funding in this budget or others to get there. And I don't want there to be a artificial limitation on your requests along those lines. I just want to understand exactly what the situation is so we can determine, whether the funding is adequate. So you said earlier, I'll just make a couple of comments. You said earlier you need about 1,849 officers.
That's what we have now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry. 1,849 now, 300 short of where you think you need to be. And where you think you need to be is based on all of the reports, all of the, post-January 6th analysis. You think you need to be 300 more than what you have today?
That's correct.
Okay. And you said you have 130 officers in the pipeline, which obviously means you have a number of officers that are not in the pipeline. And, you although you feel comfortable on the recruitment side of things, that obviously depends on your attrition rate as well. And you said your attrition was lower than it was or than you expected, but what actually is it? And the question I'm asking is, how's this pipeline working? How fast is it going? Is the pipeline producing an increase in officers or a reduction, and on what time frame?
That's a good question. Our typical attrition. Now, and I'm not. Let's remove the year January 6th and the following year, because it was double what normally was. Normally, 75 to 80 people will leave the department each year, either because they're retiring, because they resign, a couple get fired, but around between 75 and 80 a year will leave. So what we're trying to do is to increase the number of folks that we're hiring, but more than what we used to in a typical year. Again, in a typical year, we hired 120 people or so. Now we're looking to hire well over 200 people. We could get up high as 280, but certainly over 200 people a year. This gets us ahead of attrition. And I think our attrition is going to start going back to normal because of the things that were in the supplemental, the hazard pay, the specialty pay, the retention bonus. Those are things that I think are keeping officers here. So I believe at this point we are in fact getting ahead of attrition, but we've got a ways to go before we get up to where we need to be.
Okay, so I'm just breaking that down. So you're losing, in a normal year, you said about 70.
75 to 80, yes.
And is that, are you ahead of that, behind that? Where are you right now, this last year, just to take a snapshot?
If you take the past, see, last year, the year from January 6th, 2001 to January 6th, 2022, I'm sorry, 2021 to 2022, we lost 140, 150 people. So that was not a normal year.
All right.
This year, I believe we are beginning to get ahead of attrition. And I think that my hope is that with everything we've put into place, with everything that we've been able to put into place because of the decisions by this subcommittee, we will be able to get ahead of attrition. I think we've slowed it down back to normal, and we've increased the hiring. So that
are you ahead of attrition today, or
today?
Do you hope
Yes.
to get ahead of it?
No, I believe we are right today. If I look at beginning of this fiscal year, we are ahead of attrition.
Okay. I guess then the question is, how far ahead are you, and how fast then? What's that rate, and how quickly does that get you to full complement of officers? And do you have the resources you need to successfully compete on both the recruitment and the retention side, even though you're better on both recruitment and retention? Is that enough? Because if I'm looking at the budget numbers, basically you're asking for a 17.5% increase over FY 2022, right? So that's pretty recent, and we plussed up there. But only of that 17%, the rate at salaries and benefits is 11%. So you're allocating more of that increase to non-salaries and benefits, which may well be what we need to do. But then I question, well, are we doing enough on the salaries and benefits side to get to your full complement? And if you look at it over 2 years, we've seen about 23% FY21 actual to your proposed increase for salaries and benefits, 40% overall. So the trend on both sides is that the increases are going to more to non-salaries and benefits than the salaries and benefits. And to the ranking member's question, you recommended a phased opening because of shortages in the force. And so it's just an open question in my mind, like, are we doing enough to get you to a full complement fast enough to achieve everything we want?
So I'm trying to keep, you've got 4 questions that you've asked me. We are getting ahead of it. I said we're ahead of attrition. We're getting ahead of attrition this year. It's still early. We have put more people in the pipeline than we've lost. So that's where I base my decision. We're getting ahead of attrition. One of the problems that caused the folks to leave here, is the fact that we were burning our officers out. We didn't have enough cops. And we're holding them over constantly, canceling days off, forcing them to work overtime. Look, I've been a cop for 43 years. Cops like overtime, but they also like to know that they're going to have a day off once in a while, like to spend time with their families. And we were burning them out because we were so short, and the demands had increased so exponentially and so. When you see that much of our percentage of increase is not related to salaries and benefits, that sort of thing, it's because we got to get more people. That's the only way I'm going to solve, or one of the big ways I'm going to solve the attrition problem, because cops here think, look, we didn't have enough people. When things go bad, all it means is I don't get a day off. My days off, I got to work over. I got to work double shifts. And again, they like that to a certain level, but then it gets to a point where they're burnt out. And so we've got to get more people so that we can manage that, manage the overtime and make sure we have enough people when we have a big event that they feel confident, okay, we got enough people and, and the event's going to go okay. So I'm trying to work on both things at the same time. And do I think it's going to take us a couple of years. It could, and I hope it's just a couple of years to get us where we need to be. Because it takes so long to hire, to recruit, hire, and train somebody to the point where you can actually send them out on their own. A training process is the better part of a year. So all this takes a while, but that's why we're doing all these things simultaneously.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Case.